Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be episode number 5 of the square body Duramax swap. And in this episode, big changes are happening. Basically, anything we did in the last few episodes is scrapped and totally shifting gears with the whole thing along the lines of what frame I'm going to be using. So I was using a 2002 Duramax 3/4 ton frame, and I want to swap that over to a newer body style half-ton frame. So we went out searching last night, found a truck nearby, and that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go get this thing pulled out of the scrap yard. We're gonna strip some stuff off of it, get it loaded on the trailer, get some wheels on it, bring it home, and then we'll have a look at it. And yeah, we'll see how everything's gonna line up and how it's gonna fit. So let's get to it. All right, we got the boom truck hooked up here. Nice crane on it, that'll help out. Trailer's hooked on, got some rims and tires here to throw on it. We're gonna try to bring it back as much of a frame as possible. So we're gonna try to get the box off it, front fenders, all that stuff, we're gonna strip it off. There's a few parts I want for one of the trucks at work. I'm gonna try to strip those off too over there. And if we got enough time, we don't get rained out, because it's pretty cloudy outside, we'll try to get the cab off it too. Let's get over there and get to it. Okay, here she is. It's like a 2010 half-ton. So basically the big thing about these frames was what I wanted is the strut front end, no torsion bars. Hoping to get a little better ride out of that. Pretty solid frame too, they're fully boxed. It's 6-bolt wheels, half-ton rims, I want that too. And underneath this thing looks pretty good. Like all the brakes are here, nothing looks majorly damaged, suspension's all there. See, it's got some newer alignment adjusters in there, so maybe some recent work was done. But anyways, we're gonna get the box off of this thing, then we're gonna get the front fenders off, and then I'm gonna try cut the floor out and lift the cab because I want to try to use the floor. Well, let's get at her. All right, we got the front fenders and everything stripped off. Got the box stripped off. We just unbolted that. We just unbolted the front fenders and then just unbolted the doors. Get a lot of weight off it. Now I'm just starting to do the cut now. Pull the seats out, carpet out, all that good stuff. And I'm starting with a cut just like this. And I haven't decided, well, and then I'm probably gonna go, the inner rocker goes up to about this here seam, where the seam sealer is. So I'm gonna cut just inside of that. Well, a nice square, and then we might have to weld lips onto it to make it the right exact width for the square body cab, or maybe we'll leave that much hanging inside of the square body cab to sit on top of this same little lip here. So I'm gonna finish cutting it out, and then we'll get the crane hooked up, or I guess we'll get the crane hooked up and then finish cutting it out. And we'll lift her off, and we'll be loading her up.
For the firewall here, you can see I'm cutting kind of just up there. One thing to note would be I didn't realize it until I actually started cutting in the floor, and then I had to redo the cut up higher here because the cab mounts are so far forward. So you can see I'm coming straight across there. There's actually kind of a seam or a body lip there where the firewall meets the floor, and I'm cutting it just above there. I actually did start cutting lower down, and that was a mistake. So, but anyways, get this finished cutting. I'm gonna get this cab off.
Alright, so I got the truck unloaded back at home here. I got the new rims and tires on it. Let's jump over here and we'll have a look at what we're going to do this thing. So the reason why I kept the floor intact here, usually when you see a frame swap truck like this, you'll notice the frame sticks out way down. And I think that looks just absolutely hideous. So what I'm going to do is cut the floor out of the square body cab, and then also cut this floor to match. And we're going to weld that square body cab onto this floor. So before we start any cutting, there's a few things we're going to have to measure out. I actually went online, found all the specs for the square body chassis, referencing off the front axle center line and measuring back to the front body mounts and the rear body mounts on the square body. We're going to measure off of here. I'm going to mark out, they end up about right in this area, the 2 rear body mounts. I'm going to drill those holes, make spacers, and that's how we're going to line the cab up so it's perfectly square. Then we'll be able to set it down on top with threaded rods sticking down, kind of bolt it in place, and then we'll be able to start welding the front. We'll eventually cut those out and join it all together just like it should be. What I'm going to use to find axle center line is actually I'm going to reference the top ball joint here. We're going to go right off the center of it. We're going to measure back to this here rear seat mount bolt. It measures out 154 centimeters. Our rear cab mounts need to be 185.5 centimeters. So from each of these rear seat mount bolts, I'm going to measure back to 31.5 centimeters. And then to figure out our width, I'm going to use this drywall square. I'm going to line it up against this pinch weld and measure in. And that's going to give me my 2 points to drill the 2 holes, which is going to line the cab up. And the reason why we're going to do it like that is because if we're measuring off of these 2 rear seat bolts, these holes are going to be square to these holes, and these holes are square to the floor. So that's going to keep the cab perfectly square to the floor. And if there's any fine tuning we need to do after, well, of course, we'll mock everything up in place, make sure the wheels look center. So we're going to get that all done first, because I'm going to need to actually end up cutting off this pinch weld right on the inside of it and getting rid of these original outer rockers. We're going to keep the original inner rockers in place, and once we get the cab set on it, we're going to tie the square body outer rockers to these original inner rockers. So I'm going to get to clean this thing up. I'm going to vacuum off all this old glass, and then I'll start cutting off this here old rockers, get it prepped, clean up the edge, clean all the paint off, and get it bare metal ready for welding. We'll be ready to start getting that cab ready and drop it on. But before I get started on that, if you agree that frames hanging down on body swaps looks absolutely terrible, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on the square body build. Alright, so got them both cut off here, and did the same thing on both sides. We left that inner rocker intact. These actually look pretty good, they're not very rusty. So we want to tie them into the rockers on the square body cab. And this lip here, just inside of that pinch weld, measures out about 65 inches straight across, which will fit nicely underneath the square body cab. Alright, so it's finally time to start cutting the floor out of the square body cab. This floor is a little bit rusty, especially on the front driver's side there. We're going to have to do a bunch of panel repair. Looks like we're going to have to doing the rockers on both sides as well, along with the cab corners and the inner cab corners. But we'll just add that into the metal work when we're doing the welding the cab to the new floorboards there. I got everything kind of mapped out of where I want to cut it, and I'll show you that as I'm cutting. So I know this can be a little bit scary, because if you mess this up, the cab's kind of useless, or at least you're creating a lot of work to try to reuse the cab the way it is. Yep. Let's do it. All right, I think that went 100%. Let's have a look at what we got now. There's a crusty old floor. Let's have a step inside of the truck here. Very spacious. Okay, so in the back here, I just went right along this, right where it lips down, and that's where the where it started to come out into floorboard. So I just cut straight in across there. And the back corner here just came down and followed the curve. We want to keep this pinch weld in place right here because we want to keep the factory door sills, be able to replace them. That cab will have new floor right up to here. So we're hopefully going to be able to take this and just, you know, roll it over a little. And here's the rotten part of it. You can see there's holes right through the floorboard. This floor panel I'll replace. I'll get our patch panel for that. And then also this kick panel, I'll have to make a patch panel for that as well. Replace that. Inner rocker's gone here, outer rocker's gone. Cab corners are gone. Everything's gone on this side. So yeah, everything's going good with the floor cut out here. I'm just gonna go ahead and get all these edges cleaned up, get everything ready. Then we're gonna get this thing dropped on so we can mock it up on the new floorboards, and we can get the fender on it, and we'll see how it looks with the rims and how. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode today. You can see we did get the front fender mocked up here. The wheel is centered in the wheel well, so we know our measurements were bang on. If we take a look from back here, you can see there's no ugly frame rail hanging down at all. Actually, the front of the cab needs to go down just a little bit yet, but that's something we're going to cover in the next episode. We're going to work on tying the cab to the new floorboards and making this thing permanent. So if you like what's going on with the truck, don't forget to smash that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on the build, hit the subscribe button and ring that little bell. You got any questions or comments, leave them down below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.